Is bipolar disorder progressive? I mean, does it get worse as we get older? The answer to this frequently asked question is yes and no. You see, there are certain aspects of the illness that do get worse with age, while surprisingly, there's a few things that can get better. It completely depends on the person and all of the factors we're going to explore together right now on Polar Warriors. Not to be a pessimist, but let's jump right into 7 ways bipolar disorder can get worse with age. After that, I'll point out a few things that can get better. Please keep in mind that if someone isn't or hasn't ever sought treatment, they have a much higher chance of the illness progressing. The first way bipolar can get worse is in the frequency of episodes. People over the age of 60 tend to cycle more often than they did when they were younger. It's not uncommon for doctors to add rapid cycling to someone's diagnosis later in life. Number 2 is more depressive episodes and less time spent in a manic or hypomanic state. When I was in my 20s, I experienced a lot more euphoric hypomania than I do now. Maybe you noticed the same thing. In fact, let me know in the comments if you were more elevated during your younger years. Number 3 is a really frustrating one. It becomes a lot harder for our bodies to metabolize certain medications. This can actually change the way the drugs work. I've had medications that worked well for years just stop working. It took me a long time to find the right meds, so the prospect of having to start all over again is very demoralizing. Also, the older we get, the more susceptible we are to side effects from medications. Number 4 is a scary concept called neuroprogression. Bipolar disorder may damage parts of the brain over time. Brain imaging studies have demonstrated that older adults with bipolar disorder appear to have less gray matter in the frontal lobe of their brain. This part of the brain is responsible for emotional behaviors and regulation, among other things. Additional studies have suggested that bipolar impacts parts of the brain linked to memory and cognition. Please note that I'm not talking about SPECT scans. Those are completely useless in psychiatric settings. MRIs and CT scans are helping us learn more about the way mental illness impacts the brain. The 5th way bipolar tends to get worse is brought on by hormonal changes. This could be the result of thyroid issues, menopause, childbirth, or simply part of the natural aging process. It's normal for just about everyone to experience mood or hormonal changes with age. It's just that bipolar acts like a giant magnifying glass, making these changes a lot more intense and harder to treat. Moving on to number 6. Some people don't get diagnosed until much later in life. It's interesting to note that over a quarter of all people with bipolar disorder are over 60 years old. Around 10% of people were over 50 years old when they were first diagnosed. Late diagnosis potentially means that the illness has been progressing untreated for a long time. This can lead to more ingrained patterns of bipolar symptoms that are harder to treat. It's a lot less common, but sometimes people will even experience their very first bipolar episode later in their adult life. Number 7 is comorbidities, which means other medical conditions that can trigger or worsen the bipolar episodes. As we get older, we may develop anxiety or panic disorders, phobias, personality disorders, chronic pain, substance use disorders, or metabolic syndrome, just to name a few. When other conditions mix with bipolar, it's like adding fuel to a fire. Okay, now that we've explored several ways bipolar can get worse, let's switch gears and talk about ways it can get better. First and foremost is leveraging experience. Yes, my symptoms have gotten worse over the years, but my ability to cope with them has gotten much better. After going through enough episodes, we gain a deeper understanding of our condition and become more self-aware. We learn which management strategies work best for us and what triggers to avoid. Even if the illness is progressing, we can become so skilled at managing it that we stay ahead of the game. If you're newly diagnosed, please take comfort in knowing that you're on the right track. Keep educating yourself and cultivating self-awareness. Things really can get easier to manage. The second way bipolar can improve with age is that we tend to refine our treatment strategies over time. It took a little while to find a doctor I resonated with, and for them to see me enough times to get to know me. I've been through many different med changes over the years, each time learning more about what works for me and what doesn't. When I was first diagnosed, I had no idea what cognitive behavioral therapy was, and now it's forever changed me. All of these refined treatment strategies have culminated in a better quality of life. It just took some time. I wish there was a shortcut, but it just takes time. The third way it gets a little better is that our support network grows. I've joined online forums and peer support groups. I've made friends that I can talk to openly about my struggles. My partner and family members have become more skilled at pointing out signs of trouble. I've established a care team which includes my doctor, a therapist, and a psychiatrist. These are all people I can reach out to for help. If you're looking to expand your support circle, check out my private community on Patreon. We have an amazing group of like-minded people who get together and share ways to live a better life. There's a link in the video description if you'd like to join us. The fourth way things can improve is that our relationship to the illness changes. When I was first diagnosed, I didn't know what to make of it. I lived in fear, denial, and anger about the whole situation. Due to the stigmas surrounding bipolar disorder, I was ashamed to mention it to anyone. I was literally grieving my life. Over the years, I slowly learned to accept bipolar disorder as a part of my life's narrative. Seeing improvement from treatment made me realize that it's manageable, just like diabetes. With acceptance has come more self-compassion and a more proactive stance towards managing it. My bipolar has made me into a more empathetic, more resilient, and more creative person. This shift in perspective didn't happen overnight. It took time for my relationship to the illness to change. So, has your bipolar gotten better or worse over the years? Let me know in the comments. I'm very eager to hear from you. Take extra good care of yourselves, and I'll be back here soon with more Polar Warrior videos. Stay well.